Okay, it's been about a week at this point, maybe a little bit under since I did my last video. But hey, I'm back. There's a lot of things going on right now in the Core Division household. There's just a lot happening, and well, I'm back to doing videos now. I think I'm here to stay. I gotta balance out a couple of things, but either way, I'm good right now. We got some movies to catch up on that I've seen during this week break, essentially, and we also got to continue this DCEU rabbit hole. I found out recently that thanks to Warner Brothers, I'm going to be able to see The Flash early. So I'm seeing it earlier than I thought I would. So now we got to speed through this DCEU look back. I can't remember the word right now. But now we're going to talk about Joker, a movie that is not in the DCEU, but I decided to throw in as a little bonus for this. So yeah, I watched Joker. I'm gonna come out here and say right now that this is the reason why I included Joker in this DCEU retrospective. Because no, it's not set in a DCEU. It completely has its own canon, it's doing its own thing, and it is retroactively being branded as an Elseworlds project. With the DCU coming up, James Gunn is interested in having these little one-offs of characters that aren't exactly going to be mainstream comic book movies, just like something like a little more off the beaten path, maybe something that is a new fit in the world of comic books. And Joker is one of them. The Batman franchise now, because it's doing its own thing. It's going to be completely run by Matt Reeves, and that's still going to be going along with James Gunn stuff, but it's also going to be branded under the Elseworlds thing since it's not canon with James Gunn's plan. I'm sorry if that was a little confusing, but it's Joker's its own thing. Just leave it at that. Either way, this was a huge experiment. Like, we have the director of who made some pretty good comedies. I'm personally not a fan of The Hangover, but Todd Phillips directed that, and it is pretty much beloved. Off the top of my head, I don't know what else he's done, but to my knowledge, I think Todd Phillips is a really weird fit for what's essentially a character study based on one of the most iconic comic book characters ever. I remember when it was first announced when I was like maybe 16, maybe, and I thought that's a little weird because I just thought, oh, why are they doing a Joker movie? It's odd. And then the announcement of Joaquin Phoenix playing Joker. This was the casting announcement that made me go, okay, this movie's most likely going to work. Like, I'm not thinking it's going to be a masterpiece or anything, but the fact that they get Joaquin Phoenix for a comic book movie, in a leading role no less, really says something. And yeah, this experiment did pay off. It was essentially mostly an awards darling. It won the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival, which is a huge honor for any film, let alone a relatively mainstream comic book movie. It had much less of a budget than other comic book movies, which I think was like, this budget was around like 55 to 70 million. I don't think it was ever fully said what the budget of this movie was. But it was much less than a lot of comic book movies. And it was the first R-rated film to hit $1 billion. I don't know if there have been other R-rated billion-dollar movies. All I do know is that this is the first one. I know I'm talking about like the lead up to this movie a lot and like how odd this was that this movie was happening, but that's what was happening. I mean, even the lead up after the trailers came out, when the marketing was in full push for this was a weird phenomenon of a movie. You had all of like the threats of violence, or I guess, well, I don't know where that went, but there were like apparently threats of violence at screenings for this. I'm pretty sure that the theater where a shooting happened during a screening of The Dark Knight Rises, I'm pretty sure they didn't. I'm pretty sure Joker wasn't even shown there because of this. And to a point, it almost overshadowed the entire movie. I mean, I was there opening night. I think it was either opening day or opening night. It was a while ago. But a lot of the news that surrounded this movie really overshadowed the movie itself. And I think it did pay off. As I said earlier, it was an awards darling. It won a couple Oscars. It was nominated for a lot more. But yeah, Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor for this. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what else was nominated that year. All I know is that Parasite won Best Picture that year, and Yeah, cool. But I will say that the Oscars that it won were fully deserved. Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor, and Best Score won as well with Hildur Guðnadóttir. I messed up that pronunciation, but this is one of my favorite movie scores ever at this point. It's really haunting. So yeah, I guess we can get into the movie now. I feel like those are the two standouts right there. Joaquin and the score, just right there. You can say it all. That's like all of the praise I have for this movie is just put right there. Like the Joaquin Phoenix's performance and the music from this movie. Like even some like the licensed stuff, like Frank Sinatra and even and like That's Life and all that. It's a little corny now that I think about it, but I still think it works for the movie and in like the context of the movie. But the one thing about this that especially on the rewatch for this made me go, wow, that's a lot worse than I remembered. Is the writing. The writing overall, like the story's fine. I actually say the story's good. I think it's a great idea to do something like this, essentially a character study on one of the most well-known villains of all time is an interesting idea. That's why they're trying to do it again with a couple other Batman villains. But in my notes, I put down a quote here and just to try and contextualize all this on how I feel about it, because I can't really put it into any other words. So, a pool that is 6 feet deep does seem deep if you haven't been to the ocean. This movie has one major problem with me, and it weighs down a lot of the other movie, and just really thinks it's that smart and that deep when it's really not. It may just be because I am a sucker for these kind of character study movies, and I've watched, I would say, a good amount of them. I haven't watched every one, but I've watched a good amount where I can say some of them have dealt with, you know, society and all that, and just like working around like all these class themes and just the idea of not being seen, which I think it does it okay. I'm not saying it does a bad job in this, but it is just it's been done better in other movies. And I guess that's on to my next point about the commentary that this movie is trying to make. And whenever I think about it, I think about the Robert Storms video. This could become a relic of time, but I don't even know if this guy is still active on YouTube. But there was a YouTuber named Robert Storms. Right after Parasite essentially swept the Oscars. I don't know if it won every Oscar. I know it won Best Picture and Best Director. I don't know off the top of my head if it won Screenplay or not. But I know Joker didn't win any of those. So he went on this tirade about, oh, why did Joker lose? Why did Joker lose nearly everything? Well, it won Oscars. But why did it lose to Parasite? What I'm trying to say is a foreign film won Best Picture. But he doesn't ever say that, but he says it. He's talking about how Joker did a really good job of like touching on like, oh, how like you're the one being cast out in society, you're doing all these different things, like oh, blah 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 blah, everything that has been said about Joker that I don't need to say. Where he fails to realize in this is that Parasite, arguably Parasite does not tackle these themes in a major way. At least not what I remember. It's been a while since I've seen Parasite. But I should note that, so I may be totally wrong on this. But I remember Parasite tackling those themes that are very much tackled in Joker and is the basis of Joker in a way that just it was better in Parasite. Easy. Okay, I'm sticking on everything else for so long in this, but what I have to say is Joker's just not that good. It's a fine movie. It's not that great. From the acting, I feel like Joaquin Phoenix is like heads and shoulders above everybody else. And just he is carrying the weight of this movie on his back. If Joaquin Phoenix was not playing Joker in this, or Arthur Fleck, he would not this movie would not be good. Full out flat stop. This movie would not be good. The one performance that comes close to this, in my opinion, is Zazie Beetz. I think she's great. It's very nice to see that she has been essentially like thriving in Hollywood. She has been in some of my favorite movies recently, and I'm just glad that she's still working. I also do want to shout out Robert De Niro because he's just there. I don't know personally if he's phoning this in or if he's just like showing up for a paycheck, like from behind the scenes. But to me, it looks like it because he's just doing his thing. He's a late night talk show host, and he's doing what late night talk show hosts do, and that's be really really corny. I guess what I'll end this off with, this section of it, is with that there is a sequel coming out to this. Like fully, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's already filmed. Lady Gaga's playing Harley Quinn. Interesting casting choice, I think. I think that could go either way. But did this need a sequel? I don't think so. I mean, I think the idea of a musical sequel to Joker is an interesting idea. Because, so much of the, like, what happened visually in this was him always dancing around and he's singing That's Life at the end. And I feel like that would be a good segue into why they're taking this direction with the sequel. And sure, I mean, I'll take it or leave it. I personally don't think that this was needed. But then again, I said that about this movie. So, who knows? I'll be there because it's a wild idea, but I would have lived my life if this didn't get a sequel announcement. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Joker. Overall, I think Joaquin kills it. Joaquin Phoenix kills it, and the music from Hildur Guðnadóttir is amazing. Just period. But everything else is either just okay or a little bad. And I gotta say, for this being a weird experiment for DC and doing all this stuff, good for them. It got them a couple Oscars, which is pretty crazy knowing that this and Suicide Squad are both Oscar-winning movies and both have Joker. I don't know, maybe Joker's the key to winning Oscars at this point. I have no idea. But this needed a better script. Like, flat out, this probably wasn't the first draft of this script, but they had to get better writers on this and just like work out the kinks, try and make it stand out just a little bit more, in my opinion. And I feel like this could have worked. It feels weird giving this a 7 out of 10 because, it's just that. But I think Joaquin Phoenix was just so good in this. I'm just going to leave it at a 7 and just take it from there. All right, my question for you now is, what do you think about Joker? I know it's a very popular movie. I think it's like one of the most popular movies on Letterboxd. It's been up there for a long time. And do you want a sequel? Are you interested in the sequel that is coming out, I think, next year? And just, are you interested in that? It's a weird move to do it. It's a weird move to make this movie, but I commend them for it, even though I think it could have been better. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. I messed it up again. See ya.